morning, everyone. I want you to know that I personally ordered up this spectacular day for you, so I'm just saying. A very big thank you to University of Florida for the lovely gifty on the table and our beautiful breakfast. A round of applause for our wonderful sponsor. Thank you very much. We're going to get our show on the road this morning. Same deal as before. If you would please enjoy your breakfast as quietly as you can so your neighbors can enjoy the presentation. We have Jose, who will introduce himself and talk about the Azores, and then we have some housekeeping, and then we'll get into our keynote speaker. Thank you very much.
So, good morning, everyone. I'm not going to disturb you a lot of time. Basically, I'm here to show you a nice video and to tell you about the opportunity that you have to be in Azores from the 16th to 18th of September and to be able to share real internationalization efforts with European colleagues. So we decided to co-locate ASEE Global Colloquium with the CEFI conference, with the European conference, and we are going to make sure that you have all the right environment to produce all the necessary interchange with all your colleagues. Just to give you an idea, we basically booked an island, Terceira Island in the Azores. There are more cows than people there, which is usually good. We're going to force you to play golf. So you have a huge amount of golf places you can do. You're going to put you inside a bullfighting arena, and you have to network all the time. Speed dating, a lot of interchanging things. We have 3 days to make sure that you understand the value of sharing the same problems with other people of the world in terms of internationalization. So please have a look at the video, and thank you very much, and look forward to see all of you in Azores in September this year. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. This is day 3 of the event, and I think everybody has been having a lot of engagement, a lot of discussion. We heard a lot about high touch yesterday and also about socially engaged activities. I think that was a theme that went along in multiple sessions. And at the same time, we had cool ideas and a lot of thinking about, and some of it quite provocative, of thinking about how we might respond to different situations and engage amongst ourselves. So today will be another jam-packed day, and Bob's going to come in and give you a brief overview, and I hope to see you all till 10 at least tonight. So have a long, wonderful day.
Good morning. So I wanted to give you a quick overview of what's happening today. We had a jam-packed Monday, but today is even busier. This morning we start off with a panel session on the future of aerospace, U.S. commercial space enterprise. And then later this morning, the philosophy and practice of academic makerspaces. The lunch table talk today will focus on building the future through NAE Grand Challenges Scholars Program. We heard a little bit about that yesterday, but we'll hear more today. And this afternoon, there are 2 really interesting sessions, one on health and later one on innovation and entrepreneurship. But I wanted to make sure that you remember that for the closing banquet tonight, we have a very special guest, Thomas P. Russell, the Deputy Assistant Secretary of the Army and the Army Chief Scientist in Research and Technology. So I really hope to see you all there. And if there's anything that Renew or I can do for you during the day, you know where to find us. So thank you. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Cami.
Good morning, my name is Cami Abernathy. I'm Dean of the Herbert Wertheim College of Engineering at the University of Florida, and it's my great privilege to introduce this morning's speaker. Our topic today is one which has become increasingly an issue on our campus, and presumably yours as well, and that's the subject of student well-being, especially student mental health. We're very fortunate to have an expert with us this morning, Dr. Jenday Shaw, to talk about what can be done to address what is rapidly becoming a national crisis. Dr. Shaw is the Associate Vice President Dean of Students at the University of Florida, which serves 54,000 students as a land-grant AAU institution. Her responsibilities include oversight of student conduct and conflict resolution, the Disability Resource Center, new student and family programs, the Student Veterans Success Center, assistance for students in distress, as well as managing the 24-hour crisis emergency duty for the campus and serving as chair of the behavioral consultation team, the protest team, and the emergency deans. She also has supervisory responsibility for the Career Resource Center and student activities and involvement, including sorority and fraternity affairs, student organizations, student events, and leadership and service. Since 2010, when Dr. Shaw joined UF, she has been awarded the Student Government Service to Students Award, the statewide NASPA Outstanding Service to Students Award, the 2015 National Campus Safety Facilitator Award, the 2016 National Campus Safety Award from NASPA, and was honorary co-chair of the National Law and Policy Conference in 2017. Dr. Shaw teaches in the Student Personnel and Higher Education Master's Program and the First Year Florida for Freshmen every year. She has published chapters in several books regarding threat assessment and serving students in distress, and has served as keynote and plenary speaker at numerous national events. Dr. Shaw received her PhD in higher education with a minor in research methods and statistics at Florida State University, her Master's of Science in College Student Personnel Services at Miami University at Oxford, Ohio, and her Bachelor of Arts at Transylvania University. Her areas of interest are campus safety issues, crisis management, and assisting students in distress. Currently, she serves on the Campus Safety Knowledge Community National Board for the National Association of Student Personnel Administrators, and is a member of the National Panel of Experts for the Virginia Tech Victims Family Foundation. Please welcome Dr. Jen Day Shaw.
Good morning. How many of you have seen a distinct change in our student population in the last 10 years or so? It's been startling, hasn't it? So today's students, I think, can be described in a lot of different ways, and I'm assuming we're talking about this current generation. I know many of you often serve veterans who might be more non-traditional age, but the current generation of undergraduate students is different from the generation before, and it's really playing out in the classroom in terms of what we are hearing from faculty. What of these terms, do any of these stand out to you in particular in terms of what you're seeing? Shout it out for me, I know it's early. Multitaskers. So if you picture what our students are doing today, they are not interacting with others the way we do. They're interacting with technology. And where that's benefiting them in the classroom is their ability to think quickly, change tasks quickly, move from task to task. But if you're a faculty member that is teaching in a more traditional way, so a lecture style, and a student is back in the classroom and they are moving from looking at the professor to their phone, to their iPad, to their neighbor beside them, it just creates a different experience in the classroom. One of the major issues that we're seeing with college students today are mental health issues, and the numbers are startling. This is a national survey of counseling centers at colleges and universities, and you'll see that anxiety is outstripping everything else in terms of what our students' presenting problems are. I think because students are having so much anxiety, the faculty are starting to have to serve in different roles in order to help our students be successful. And the students that are presenting to the counselors are not just undergraduates, graduate and professional students as well. Counseling centers are also seeing a distinct rise in the number of students who have either had suicidal ideation or actually attempted suicide. And unfortunately, in engineering students, the number tends to be stronger because of the students' lack of ability to manage their own mental health issues, combined with the pressure of being an engineering student, combined with this feeling that everyone else is doing such amazing things and not suffering from the same level of anxiety. We're hearing it over and over again. One of the things that has become much more commonplace on college campuses, in the past, if you had a student that seemed to be experiencing some kind of issue, you just sent them to the counseling center. The challenge with this, after Virginia Tech happened, the tragedy there, all of the reports came back saying the problem with Virginia Tech and other issues on campuses is that because counseling centers are 100% confidential, the college, the faculty members, others that are working with the student then have no idea, did the student actually go to the counseling center? Did they only go one time? or did they actually stay and be treated effectively? So most campuses are now using multiple methods of working with students in severe distress to make sure that we can communicate back to the faculty members and back to the college about that person is under treatment, that we're working with them, that they can stay here safely and successfully. The way to do this is to work with a lot of different resources on campus. And because each campus culture is different, yours may look different from ours. For us, with 54,000 students and a very large College of Engineering, we are using pretty much every resource on campus to accomplish this. Your own academic advisors play a tremendous role. Your faculty play a critical role. And I think one of the things that I'm so impressed with our own College of Engineering is that Cammie and her team have made sure that the faculty understands that part of their role is to recognize signs of distress in students and then get that information to us. And then we work together to help figure out how do we successfully support that student so that they're successful in the classroom and on campus. At UF, we've created one email that all faculty use. There's a team of 8 of us that monitor that 7 days a week. It makes it easy for faculty because we certainly don't need faculty to have additional challenges. And our #1 referral source for the 6,000 students we served through this program last year is faculty. They have really, it's helped them. You know, we were just talking at the table, faculty aren't trained to deal with the kinds of mental health issues and issues of distress that we're seeing in students. And for them to have a ready resource that's responsive to them and really takes the problem, keeps them engaged so they know what's happening in the classroom, but is able to address the issue has been hugely beneficial. Our counseling center still continues to see a huge increase in the number of students they're seeing, and this is happening nationally as well. If you talk to your director of the counseling center on your own campus, I believe that they'll tell you the same information as what we're seeing from ours. The healthcare center, this has been interesting data for us. So traditionally, this is, I'm treating the flu, a cold, a broken bone that someone got from intramurals. But the #3 reason now for students to present to the healthcare center is anxiety and depression. So again, not only are we seeing it in the counseling center, student healthcare center, and a lot of other resources on campus, and your faculty are certainly seeing in the classroom. We are lucky enough to have psychiatry on our campus. I know a lot of campuses don't have that benefit, but our psychiatrists can't keep up. They're booked out for 3 months. And when we survey our students and their families, the number of students who are coming to UF as traditional age freshmen who have already been seen by a psychologist and a psychiatrist and who are already on medication is startling. In terms of emergency and crisis, that distress that your faculty are seeing in the classroom, as you can imagine, plays out in the residence halls, plays out in other units on campus, including our Dean of Students office. Our office works with crisis, and one of the things that I would suggest to you, we have a really great way that we communicate with the College of Engineering. So when you see these numbers here, anytime one of those students is a College of Engineering student, I am reaching out to the Associate Dean of the College of Engineering, who's my point person, and letting him know, your graduate student so-and-so was transported last night to the hospital. For this reason, we're reaching out to the student, we're reaching out to the family, I'll keep you posted. So on his end, he can both let faculty know your student's not going to be in class today, but also can figure out, based on what he's hearing, do we need to do something different for that student? And it just helps our students be more successful. Most campuses now have a threat assessment team. So after Virginia Tech, this became law in the state of Florida, or I'm sorry, in the state of Virginia and the state of Illinois. And this team looks at students who might present a danger to other students. So if we have a student that presents as communicating a threat to someone else, who maybe you see drawings that might indicate an intent to harm, who is hearing voices and is not on medication and seems to be not able to control his actions, this team uses a community of experts to assess the behavior assess the risk, and then mitigate that risk. And so on your own campuses, I would take a look at, is there a team so that if you or your faculty become concerned about a student, you've got a team to refer to. This is the program I was describing that we've provided for our faculty so that they've got one place to go. Many of your campuses will probably have something similar, will have a go-to person. I would absolutely recommend that you make sure your faculty understand when they see signs of distress in the classroom that they've got one place to send that person or to give that information to. This has been so incredible in the 7 years that we've had this program. It really has become part of our culture. Faculty use it, they appreciate it. We get all kinds of great assistance from faculty. And then we see students who normally we would have lost, so it would have impacted our retention numbers and our graduation numbers, that are now making it because we're getting them early before it becomes a crisis, and we're able to help them effectively. Some resources really help our students that aren't as obvious. So all the data shows that if students are exercising, it helps their ability to manage anxiety, it helps their immune system. So our College of Engineering has incorporated exercise into the summer bridge program that they create. Our students love it. It helps create a cohort so that they feel like they're doing something together. It keeps them active. So I would also encourage you to think a little bit outside the box about what are the different pieces of well-being that you might be able to partner with on campus. Our College of Engineering, I just can't say enough about how outstanding they are. We communicate every day, and unfortunately, I always joke that they hate hearing from me because it's always something bad. But the kinds of things that we make sure we talk about, clearly student deaths, student arrests, so that is handy to know, especially if it's an international student, because sometimes that's going to affect status. Also, if a student's arrested for a violent crime, it's helpful to know if that person's coming back into the classroom. Of course, mental health issues. We also work through student organization issues. So some of the student organizations that are affiliated with the college, if there tends to be dysfunctional leadership or hazing or some of the kinds of issues you might see in a student organization, and then all kinds of distress issues. And I believe that you're probably seeing what we're seeing. The kinds of interpersonal issues that our students are dealing with are impacting their ability to be successful. So we've seen homeless students, students who lose a family member, students with long-term health issues like cancer, all of those things that I think in the past students sort of either dealt with on their own or maybe worked with someone in student affairs. Now it's a whole campus support system, and that's where it's so beneficial, I think, for the colleges to be involved. You're their home, you're where they feel the most comfortable, and so when your faculty and your staff are able to be part of that support system, I think our retention increases, as do our graduation rates. These are some of the different ways that we collaborate with the College of Engineering. So in addition to students in distress, it's also honor code issues. Student activism is very big right now. We've done a lot in terms of diversity education. We're really focusing on inclusion on our campus. So just some suggestions on some different ways that you might think about partnering with my people. Our College of Engineering, and I would suggest if you've got the chance to talk to Cami while you're here, I believe it's very cutting edge. I talk to my fellow deans of students, and they're constantly amazed about the relationship that we've got between us. Because the issue is so big now in terms of students in distress and retention and graduation rates in the state of Florida in particular drive a lot of our funding, this partnership that we have where we're doing a lot of campus-wide things, but we're also doing some really specific things for our College of Engineering students in the college has worked beautifully. One on this slide I would point out to you that is, I think, great and has really been working well is we've embedded a career resource center professional in the college. So they're physically situated in the college. They really get to know the faculty and the students and the companies that the college works with. They work specifically with those students, do a lot of programming there. It's just worked out beautifully. Again, lots of examples of some different ways that we've partnered. I'm certainly happy to make all of these slides available if any of these can be helpful for you. Other things to think about that might help you in terms of campus-wide programs. Students are really struggling with different kinds of needs. So we've got a very active food pantry for students who have food scarcity issues. We have this Gator Career Closet that lets students borrow professional clothes before they go to interview in case they can't afford them. Especially for our international students, we found a lot of usage of both those resources. So just thinking through the kinds of things that really might benefit your students. There's our food pantry. Veterans is a group that we serve a lot of. A lot of our engineering, our veterans end up being engineering majors, so another group to spend some good time on. And then just in terms of things to be thinking about, I think, student well-being is a national issue. At our conferences, it is absolutely the focus, because if we can't help them be successful outside the classroom, they're not going to be successful inside the classroom. And it directly impacts retention and graduation rates. Cami and I had talked about nowadays, in the past we might be thinking someone has a math deficiency, we help them improve in math and they're successful. Now it's they're a student in distress, or they have a mental health issue, or they're not taking care of themselves, and we need to address that issue in the same way. So in terms of suggestions, if you are not working with campus partners like Student Affairs, I would absolutely suggest reaching out. It doesn't make sense to recreate the wheel. You've got experts on your campus who maybe already have the resources that really might benefit your students. And so forming those partnerships, I think, is just a great thing to do. Also, just if your Dean of Students is not telling you what's happening with your students, I think it just makes sense that you know what's happening. I would want to know if one of my students was arrested or was hospitalized. I would make that connection if that's not already happening. I want to make sure that I've got a little bit of time for questions or discussion or suggestions. Anything that would be helpful, sir?
So what do you attribute this increasing level of anxiety for the students? So my question is, what do you attribute this increasing level of anxiety among the students from? I mean, if I look at many of the students we see, we also sort of have these helicopter parents who may not have prepared the kids for independence as well. So I'm curious what you attribute this trend to. I agree, we see it, but I'm just sort of curious if there's anything we can do to prepare them before we get to the university.
That's a great point. So when I talk to my K through 12 colleagues, they're seeing the same thing we are. In fact, in Gainesville, just this week, we had a 13-year-old die by suicide. So it is a national issue. When I talk to my colleagues from the counseling center, their literature is also sort of reflective of where is all this coming from. It's certainly, the K through 12 institutions are seeing it just like we are. And so a lot of it is coming from them coming to us already struggling, already on medication, already been to the counseling center. I think we can also, sort of just extrapolate the world right now. So I know on our campus, when the election occurred and some of the things that have come after the election, we have a lot of international students on our campus. There's a lot of anxiety around just sort of the world today, pressure and competition, aligned with students not taking care of themselves. I think there's just a lot of factors that are impacting that.
So I have a question and then an observation that Gilda and we were talking about, and Kendall and I were talking about. So one question is, you have FERPA rules which prevent, students from disclosing that they have a mental disorder. So the campus doesn't even know that the person has a mental disorder, and then something happens. So it's not the campus fault, it's the privacy part. That's the question. How do you deal with that? The observation is there are private schools in the United States that have a pass, not pass policy. So it allows them to get over issues of those first year experience where people are high anxiety, they were, perfect A students at their high schools. They have to transit. I'll give you an example. MIT is like this. So the entire first year for everybody at the institute is pass, not pass. And I wonder if maybe all engineering schools might go in that direction. So the first question is the privacy issue.
So great question about FERPA. So, FERPA's been around for a long time. And up until Virginia Tech, there was sort of this overwhelming, we're not allowed to talk to each other. As soon as Virginia Tech happened, FERPA changed. And so if you're not aware of the latest FERPA interpretations, it'd be worth asking that question on your own campus. So FERPA says if you have an educational need to know, you can share information. So for example, in my job responsibilities, I'm responsible for all students. That means you can tell me anything. Anything about a student you can tell me. And as the dean or the associate dean or a faculty member, I can do the reverse. And so that's why I pointed out the counseling center has 100% confidentiality. So you can send a student to them, but they can't tell you anything back. But you can talk to a student affairs person, you can talk to a social worker that works in what we call our care team if you've got that. I can talk to your academic advisors back and forth. And so sometimes I have found on other campuses the FERPA, sort of back in the day, FERPA interpretation is still very prevalent, and even sometimes our general counsels are still so focused on keeping things confidential that they haven't re-looked at what the interpretations say. But the Department of Education came out with very specific, we need to open up FERPA, we need to be able to talk to each other. As long as we're focused on professional well-being, we're okay. The other thing to recognize with FERPA, you cannot be sued under FERPA, you can't be fined under FERPA. FERPA is when they come in and say you did wrong, but there's really no negative outcome in terms of FERPA. And so I think trying to help everyone understand, if we're talking to each other about student well-being and it's part of our roles, then it is completely allowable under FERPA.
Thanks for all this wonderful information. Can you talk a little bit about the support you provide for students that are also parents?
Oh, that's a great question. So this current generation, and that should have been something on my slide, this current generation is more connected to their families than ever before in our past. When we survey our students and ask them, how many times a week are you talking to your families? And they said, a week, what are you saying? We're talking 5 to 6 times a day with a parent. They are incredibly connected. On our campus, families belong to my office in terms of we communicate with them. In fact, we've got family weekend coming up this weekend. We've got 2 different email addresses that we give to them, so we try to funnel all their questions and complaints to us. I don't know how much the faculty are interacting with families. Cami, if you want to share that piece. Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Sorry about that. In our world, it's very much the parents are the ones that are super engaged. So we don't have a ton of students with children at the undergraduate level, just a very few. It is good to know, under Title IX, students who are pregnant are able to have pretty much any accommodation needed to be able to be successful in the classroom. That's a new interpretation of Title IX. And students with children also, the challenge I think is, for us, I know our daycares on campus fill up very quickly. We've just recently had an issue where a student was bringing a child to class. We're trying to do more. I'd say that's probably an area we really need to grow because we don't have a huge population of students with children. But certainly a challenge in terms of balance and all the things that go along with when you have kids and you're trying to also go to school. Does that? One more question? Sir.
Morning. So you covered students that have difficulties. What do you think, or how do you manage students that has what you call clinically difficult personalities? Do you see an evolution, and how do you manage that?
And so on stage, this is not pointing toward me, so I'm having trouble hearing your question. I heard difficult personalities. How do we manage difficult personalities?
Yes, do you see an evolution in the number of students that have difficult personalities, and how do you manage that?
Sorry.
Yeah, the question is, have you seen an increase in the number of students with difficult personalities, and how do you manage that?
Yes. So, and it's not only difficult, challenging personalities, but the rise in the number of students that are on the autism spectrum, so Asperger's, huge increase. I know on our campus alone, and students who are on the autism spectrum don't have to register with the Disability Resource Center. We've got more than 50 who have chosen to, but based on some of the classroom behavior we're seeing, I know our number is far greater. Absolutely continue to be a challenge. We do it very case by case, so depending on the student, you know, some faculty are just phenomenal at handling that, and we never even hear about it, and they handle it on their own. For others, it needs to be a group effort. So we'll often bring the student in and talk through, here's how you are impacting other students, here's how you're impacting your faculty member. At UF, a faculty member can dismiss a student from one class for acting out in a class, but after that, it has to transfer to our student code of conduct process, which is run through my office. And so we'll work together on, you know, is there a way to manage the behavior in the classroom? If it's a student on the autism spectrum, then very direct language about what they can and can't do has been incredibly helpful. In other cases, it might mean us trying to think through, is there a way for us to hold the student accountable in terms of their behavior? So we've tried everything from switching sections to moving to an online section to they go through the conduct process and they're withdrawn from the course and we need to do some kind of mediation before they're back in the course. Yes, we're absolutely seeing that as well. I know my time is up. Thank you, everyone. I'm happy to interact in any way or talk to your own deans of students. If you feel like they're not doing what we are getting to do at UF, feel free to email me. Thank you.